In the auditorium, the school president, Irina, is giving a speech while all the students listen to her attentively. Amidst the crowd, a young man named Sauji is sitting as he looks at her magnificent twin tails. He praises them to be out of this world and bow in front of their glory. He looks to his right side and finds another girl with twin tails and nicknames her Strawberry Twin. He then glances in front of him and finds another cute girl with twin tails, so he names her Innocent Twin. Then he looks on his left and finds his childhood friend, Aka, but he makes no comment on her even though she has twin tails. After glancing at all the twin tails, he heads back to the most superior of them all, which is the president's twin tails. He sings poetry to praise them. After praising them, he thanks God for allowing him to get admitted into such a school with such great twin tails. Later on, in the class, the homeroom teacher asks all the students to write club ideas they want to create or join pre-existing ones. Our hero, who seems to be sleeping while lost in his dreams, is woken up by his childhood friend who gives him the paper to fill up as the time is running out. He quickly fills in the information and hands it to the teacher. The teacher briefly goes through all the forms and finds one without any name written on it. Sauji realizes that it must be him as he is in a hurry to submit the form, so he raises his hand and informs the teacher that it is him. The teacher reads his form and finds out that he has written a Twin Tails Club on it. She looks at him weirdly and wonders what's going on inside his mind. The other students look at him weirdly too, which causes Sauji to get embarrassed as he tries to hide himself in a hole. Later, Sauji and Aka are on their way home when she teases him for writing a Twin Tails Club on the school form. Sauji begs her to stop as he is already embarrassed enough, which makes Aka bully him even more. She even teases him by flaunting her twin tails in front of him, which aggravates him and leads to a fight between them. However, Aka is well trained and easily dodges his attacks and even manages to hit him a few times. To save himself from embarrassment, Sauji tells her that he went easy on her just because she is a girl, but this is not going to work on Aka, who knows that he has been slacking on his training and scolds him. She also advises him to continue his training over at her grandfather's dojo so he is better equipped with fighting skills. Just then, Sauji's mother drops by and praises their friendship. She also invites Aka over for dinner as she teases him for being so close to her son. This makes Aka blush as she meekly nods like a chick pecking on seeds. After she leaves, Sauji asks Aka why she is red, which infuriates Aka, so she once again starts to bully him for being obsessed with twin tails. While the duo are bickering with each other, an unknown white-haired woman seems to be stalking them. Later, in an unknown dark alley, the Strawberry Twin seems to be running away from something. She seems panicked and out of breath but still doesn't stop. Meanwhile, our duo has just finished their food as they talk about the Twin Tails Club. Unlike before, they seem to be very serious about it and think of a way to make this plan come true. Just as they are talking, the unknown white-haired woman seems to be staring at them while reading her newspaper. Sauji informs her that they are closed today, but the woman pokes a hole through the newspaper and keeps staring at them. Sauji panics and starts to play with Aka's twin tails to relax. Aka stares at him, so he stops and lets them go. The unknown woman pulls out a little device from in between her melons and smirks as she comes close to Sauji and asks if she can sit beside him. Sauji doesn't have any problem, so she sits anyway and stares at him. Seeing her huge books, Sauji is captivated, which makes Aka jealous, so she asks the woman what's her deal. The woman looks at Aka and then at her flat chest and smiles while calling her a mistress. This offends Aka when she gets hyper furious and lashes at her. Sauji stops them from fighting and asks the woman for her identity and the purpose of coming here. She tells him that her name is Turul and that her purpose is to give this bracelet to him. She shows him the bracelet and wants him to wear it, but Aka suggests Sauji not to as it's very suspicious and can lead to bad stuff. However, Turul tries to act like an innocent girl and even offers to give him anything he wants. Sauji looks at her beautiful, fluffy, and bountiful hair and wonders how she would look in a twin tail. Too early mistakes his actions and presents him with her beautiful, fluffy, and bountiful melons for him to touch, but Aka stops her and asks her to not do lewd things to her childhood friend. Turul is getting tired of their nonsense and realizes that their time is up, so she pulls out her device and pushes some buttons on it, which takes them to another location. Aka recognizes the place and realizes that it's 20 minutes away from their house, and yet they reach here in seconds. She looks at Turul as if she's a monster and asks who she truly is. But before Turul can say anything, their eyes fall onto Strawberry Twin, who is knocked unconscious, and even her signature twin tails are gone. This upsets Sauji, so Turul explains to him that if Sauji refuses to wear the bracelet, all the twin tails in the world will disappear. This makes Sauji shocked, and he doesn't want such a thing to happen, so he agrees to wear the bracelet. Just then they hear screams of people and find a bunch of alien lizard-looking beings attacking humans. They capture girls with twin tails and some energy balls and steal their love for twin tails using their machines. Turul informs them that these aliens are called Eleminians and that they vow to eradicate all the twin tails in the world. The Eleminians attack people and continue to capture anyone with a twin tail. They even get their hand on a young girl with twin tails, but the Eleminian lizard boss finds her too cute and asks his subordinates to arrange a sofa for her as he drowns her with soft toys and plushies. Just then, an Eleminian informs Lizard's boss that they captured the ultimate twin tail and brought it back. Lizard's boss looks at Irina and is memorized by her twin tails, so he decides to take them from her. However, Irina asks them to stop what they are doing and orders them to let go of the little girl as well. However, the lizard boss asks her to shut her mouth up and steals her twin tail with their technology. Seeing this, Saoji is extremely enraged and asks Turul how to stop. She points at the bracelet on his wrist and informs him that the solution relies on. She taps the bracelet and activates it, which transforms Saoji into a girl with twin tails. Saoji looks in a mirror and finds himself very cute. He stands in front of the Eleminians and asks them to stop their shady activities and restore all the twin tails that they stole. However, the lizard boss is lost in Saoji's twin tail form and doesn't listen to his yapping. Saoji tries to get his attention, so he finally pays him some attention and explains that they are doing it for their sacred lord. This leads to a fight between both of them as Saoji finds out that his transformation has granted him immense powers at the cost of his gender. The fight goes on for a while as they both use their ultimate moves, but in the end, using the power of the plot armor, our hero is successful in defeating the lizard boss and his minions. He then destroys the device which restores all the twin tails. Irina wakes up and looks at her savior who saved her. She asks for Saoji's name, so he tells her to call him Red Tails as he is currently in his twin tails form. Irina asks him if she will ever meet him again, so he responds that if fate allows them, then they will meet in the future. After Irina leaves, Saoji's transformation comes to an end as he reverts to his original form and falls unconscious. Later, he wakes up in his room. He checks around and finds himself lying down on Turul's lap. He seems to be enjoying the sensation of her soft and pillowy thighs, but he has more important matters on hand, such as his transformation and the reason why he became a girl during that time. He barrages Turul with a lot of questions, so she asks him to stay calm and relaxed. First, she tries to make out with him, but before she can make any moves on Saoji, his chastity protector, Aka barges into the room and separates her from Saoji. After fighting for a while, they calm down, as Turul finally comes up to the main topic. Meanwhile, in a place far away from them, the Eleminians hold a meeting to discuss their new greatest enemy, which is none other than Saoji's other version, Red Tails. They discuss Red Tails in great detail as how immaculate she looks and her twin tails, which can be considered the ultimate in the world. From her petite structure to her gorgeous-looking eyes, they seem to be in love with her. However, their head boss asks the fox boss and turtle boss to calm down as they can't just fall in love with their enemy. Their goal on this planet is to eradicate twin tails, not to love them. Back at our main hero's party, Turul explains to them about the Eleminians and their goals. She informs them that the Eleminians are alien creatures who invade other worlds and absorb their love attributes. According to her research, there is a great power stored inside the love attributes that they feed on and survive. She also explains to Saoji about his transformation and how he managed to transform into a girl with twin tails. She believes that it's because of his love for twin tails that led to such transformation. Saoji is both excited and confused, so he asks her why they only love twin tails but not other love attributes. However, even a knowledgeable person like Turul isn't able to answer this question, but she believes that there might be a specific reason behind it. Saoji also asks her about the lizard boss and how he seems to have a love for dolls. However, shortly he corrects himself and explains that it was love for little girls holding dolls. Although it's a creepy obsession, it isn't anything related to twin tails at all. Turul once again explains that even she doesn't know the answer to all of the questions and deduces that it might be related to the love attribute thing and that all aliens might not be on the same page. On the other hand, the Eleminians are also discussing ways as to how to defeat such a mighty foe. Their leader asks his subordinates, who are lost in debating as to what would suit Red Tails the best. One of them says that Red Tails would look best in a maid cosplay, and the other one wants to see her in a swimsuit, while another one wants to see her in bondage gear. This infuriates the main boss, so he asks them to silence and decide the outcome by engaging in a battle against the Red Tails. Back at Saoji's house, they are still discussing the twin tails as Turul keeps on making moves on Saoji, which infuriates Aka, so she punches her and kicks her. Poor Turul keeps on tolerating her violent behavior and instead comes back to Saoji's question as to why he became a female. Turul thinks for a while and answers that it might be that he likes men. However, Saoji rejects this, so she suggests that it takes a best man to become a best girl. But this causes Aka to lash at her for stealing jokes from Giguk's channel. Turul apologizes for the plagiarism as there is no such thing on her planet. Aka wonders how would the Japanese react if they found that copyright laws don't exist in Turul's world. Saoji coughs and asks them to come back to the real problem, which is that after defeating the lizard boss, he found this gem on his body. He shows the gem to the ladies, which attracts their attention as it's a really pretty gem. He asks Turul about it, so she answers that it's the crystallization of the power within the lizard boss. Hearing this, Saoji tells her how he saw a projection of a doll when he first got this crystal. Turul explains that he must love little girls holding on to toys. But this confuses Eka, and she asks then why would he steal their attribute. According to this, won't he be disappointed when the little girls aren't able to hold on to stuffed toys anymore? Turul is also confused about this matter and explains that elephants often can be very paradoxical. On the topic of Eleminions, back in the headquarters, the Turtle Boss and Fox Box seem to be playing games as they compete with each other. Their boss oversees them playing games and seems to be quite intrigued. Back at Saoji's home, Turul also tells them about herself and how she is also an alien from a different planet. According to her, their planet was also raided by Eleminions and they suffered crushing defeat under their hands. Fortunately, she managed to escape and started looking for ways to fight against them. Saoji gets emotional after hearing her speech and decides that he will fight and protect the twin tails of all the worlds. He even vows to restore her planet too, just like he restored twin tails of Irina the other day. However, Turul explains to him that sadly it's not possible as the time limit to revert the damages is only 24 hours. Saoji is disappointed and expresses his regret, but Turul doesn't mind and instead asks him to protect other people so the same tragedy won't ever repeat. However, they all are unaware that Saoji's mom has been listening to them and seems to be quite excited. Inside the room, Turul is telling Soji and Eka about building a base beneath the building so they can have a base of operations where they can discuss how to defeat their nemesis. Just then, Saoji's mom barges in and interrupts their conversation. Saoji gets shocked and becomes fearful as he asks if she heard anything. She explains that she heard everything and how he is the famous tail who everyone is talking about on the TV. She also tells him how it's been a long-time dream for her. She always wanted a daughter who would become a celebrity, so when he was born she was very devastated. Although she wanted to have another child in this economy, even raising one child is extremely expensive. She curses capitalists for ruining the world and continues with her explanation of the dream. She even allows Turul to build a base beneath the house and gives him all the permissions to make moves on Saoji whenever she wants. This makes Eka very angry as she complains to Saoji's mom, but instead, all she gets is a deep sigh and a look of endless disappointment. She expresses her grief at how she gave her all the chances, but she still failed to take Saoji's virginity. She would have taken her son's virginity if not for the fact that it's morally unethical. So that's why she leaves this matter to Turul, who seems very interested in her son and even has those childbearing hips to give birth to beautiful grandchildren. Turul hugs her and thanks her for allowing her to do the honors. Saoji's mom is extremely satisfied after seeing her horniness for her son and gives her a thumbs up. After she leaves with Turul to cook up some food for dinner, Eka warns Saoji to beware of Turul as she still hasn't completely told them about herself, and she seems quite shady, especially with a tech like twin gear. Saoji wakes up after struggling to sleep the whole night. He opens his eyes and finds Turul, who wants to give him a good morning smooch, but before she can do anything, Eka comes in from the window like a cat and kicks her right in the face. After tugging her in a blanket and securing it with a rope, they get ready and head to school. However, there he finds that Red Tails has become very famous and quickly became the diamond in everyone's eyes. Some boys even jerked off to her Rule 34, which makes Saoji feel regret as he used to do the same to his favorite anime characters in the past. Later, everyone is called to the auditorium by the school president, Irina, who gives a speech as to why Red Tails is the greatest woman on this planet. She even expresses her crush on her, which makes poor Saoji even more depressed. This also causes Eka to tease him even more, who seems to be enjoying this whole drama. After school, Saoji and Eka are walking back home when suddenly a huge projection appears in the sky as the Eleminions confess their true identities as the disciples of God and tell their ambition to the world. Saoji, who is watching them from below, gets enraged and swears to destroy them so Twin Tails will continue to exist on this planet for eternity. Just then, his bracelet rings, which is a call from Turul. She tells him about an Eleminion appearing in a high school a little further away from them. She gives them the coordinates and requests Saoji to take care of them. She also gives him the code to transform into his Twin Tails form, which he uses to transform into his Cutie Patootie form and flies away to fight against the Eleminion. After a while, he arrives at the location and fights against the Eleminion and protects the Twin Tails that he loves very much. The girls notice him and start to ask him for pictures, drowning him with their bodies. Poor Saoji wants to escape, but there is no escape for him aside from giving in to these crazy fangirls. After escaping from the thirsty girls, he comes back home where Turul has already finished her project and takes them beneath the house to showcase the entire base in its glory. They head inside through an elevator. She then guides Saoji, his mom, and Eika to give a thorough tour of the entire secret base. She showcases the technology as she flexes her intelligence, but she is ignored as the group is too busy looking at the wondrous technology of another world. She coughs and asks for their attention as the group is pulled out from their fascination and becomes embarrassed. Tyrell informs that although the secret base is enough to perform all the necessary operations, the real problem lies with the amount of twin-tail fighters they have. Even despite having extra twin gears, Tyrell still hasn't managed to find a suitable candidate. She did find one, but too bad she is a bad apple who is extremely violent and can't be trusted with. Just then the whole base starts to ring as Tyrell heads to her main control system and presses some buttons that showcase the Eleminions on the screen. Saoji realizes that it's hero time or heroine time in his case and immediately transforms to teleport to the location of the incident. For some time, Saoji alone takes on all the missions and protects people from the terror of the Eleminions, which grants him a lot of attention from the media all around the world. He has become a celebrity in everyone's eyes, and wherever he goes, countless eyes follow him. One of them is the school president, Irina, who is a crazy fan of his and a person with a huge crush. She is watching all of his videos on multiple screens when a question arises in her mind, and she asks her secretary about the request that someone put up to create a Twin Tails club in the school. Her secretary answered that it was put on hold as no one agreed to become an advisor for them. Irina thinks for a while and then asks her secretary to bring that form over to her later on. Meanwhile, Saoji enjoys watching his videos all over the internet, which makes Eika angry as she feels jealous of other girls for touching him so close in the videos. Saoji tries to explain that it's not his fault and the fact that he is in girl's form in the videos, so technically it is not. Trying to cope with the reality, both Saoji and Eika accept this answer and move on. Later in the secret base, Eika complains to Tyrell that Saoji is being weird and is slightly becoming a narcissist as well. Too Early tries to calm her down as she explains that it's just a phase. And instead, she showcases the live footage of Saoji going into the bathroom, which makes Eika blushes as she asks Tyrell why the frick does she even have cameras in the bathroom. Tyrell doesn't answer her question and instead informs her that Saoji has been asking her questions as to what would happen if he tries to take off his suit during transformation. This makes Eika imagine all sorts of scenes inside her head as she tries to talk to Tyrell about how morally wrong it is to watch someone in the bathroom, but her expression and eyes tell a different thing. However, they are disappointed when Saoji transforms into a girl, and instead of touching himself or doing anything weird, he just plays with his twin tails. The girls look at him through the camera with a weird glance as they can't believe that a man can be this dense. Tyrell notices Eika playing with her twin tails too and asks her if she's jealous, which makes the already furious Eika even more furious as she is about to punch her. Tyrell has already prepared an anti-Eika bot, but that doesn't work either and she gets her ass beaten up. Later, she is having lunch with Saoji when she complains to him about the violent, flat-chested gorilla who is always beating her up. As much as Saoji wants to say skill issue to her, he holds back as Tyrell has done a lot for him. They are casually chit-chatting when suddenly Tyrell's emergency alert rings and informs her of an attack from the Eleminions. The group heads downstairs to the base and confirms the location as Saoji transforms into his cutie patootie form and teleports straight to the location. Saoji opens his eyes and finds himself in a flower field where an Eleminion has already been waiting for him. He greets Saoji as if he has been a long-time lover and expresses his fanboys for him. Saoji is creeped out by this Eleminion and asks him to introduce himself as he doesn't look like your average Joe. The Elimination introduces himself to be the Fox Boss and informs Saoji about his goal of capturing him today. Saoji asks him to cut his creepy act and informs him that he is tired of beating their asses daily and needs a well-deserved break. Saying this, he takes his stance as he pulls out his blade. The Fox Boss notices the cute ribbons on Saoji's tail red form and expresses his love for them. Saoji is once again weirded out by their fetishes, but remembers that he is weird for having a fetish of twin tails in the first place. The Fox Boss is also excited to fight him as he pulls out his weapon, which is none other than a ribbon too. He throws it towards Saoji and captures him with it. But Saoji isn't so weak either and breaks free from it, but he still finds his ability very creepy and decides to stay cautious the next time. The Fox Boss pulls back his ribbon and stares at Saoji as if he's a gem and gets even more excited. He shapes the ribbon into a special form and starts to crystallize his love for cute ribbons and imbue it into his weapon. Tyrell is also watching this all happen from the base and alerts Saoji to beware of the upcoming attack. Saoji becomes even more cautious and prepares for a huge attack, but instead of attacking with the ribbon, the Fox Boss just shapes it into a clone of Saoji's tail red form, then proceeds to tie it with a ribbon with a cute knot. If Saoji wasn't already creeped out, he gets goosebumps this time. He asks the Fox Boss if he copied his power or something, but he informs him that he didn't copy his power and that the tail red in front of him is just a mannequin. However, it's a 1-by-1 perfect replica of the original one, which gives him the pleasure of touching her inappropriately. He even creates the illusion of him doing suspicious things with the mannequin, which grosses out Saoji, who begs him to stop violating the poor mannequin. However, the fox boss is unhinged and too biased to stop as he continues his violation. Saoji isn't able to watch anymore, so he decides to act up, but just when he is about to attack, he notices the perfect twin tails on the mannequin and can't help but not attack it. Even though the thing in front of him is just a copy, he still can't attack such a beautiful girl with such outstanding twin tails. The fox boss is also surprised as he informs Saoji that no wonder he is the ultimate tail red. After saying this, he captures Saoji once again with his ribbon. And this time, he isn't even able to break through and gets tied up like a present on Christmas Eve. Meanwhile, in the base, Eika isn't able to watch it anymore and requests Turul to do something about it. However, Turul can't do anything as she doesn't have any long-range missiles to attack or any super cool power. The only thing that can fight against these monsters is twin gear, but unfortunately, the guy with it is already in a sticky situation. Hearing the word twin gear makes Eika remember the other twin gears that Turul had in her possession, so she asks her to give one to her so she can beat that ribbon-loving creepy alien. However, Turul is reluctant to give it to her as she made it for a person with big books, but unfortunately, Eika lacks that. Eika remembers how Turul told Saoji that the candidate in her mind was a flat-chested violent gorilla, which makes her even angrier as she beats Turul up. After receiving a beating, Turul brings out the twin gear and asks Eika if she would beat her up if she didn't give it to her. Then she laughs as she assures herself that there is no way she will forcefully snatch it from her, but unfortunately, the flat-chested violent gorilla doesn't care one bit about her feelings and steals it right from her hands and transforms into her twin-tailed form. She then proceeds to teleport to Saoji's location to aid him in the fight. A few seconds later, Eika arrives at the location, confronts the creepy ribbon-loving weirdo, and asks him to free Saoji. The fox boss is surprised that there is another one of such twin tails in the world, but after looking at her flat chest and angry expression, he decides to not comment as his red tail is still better. This makes Eika angry as she summons out her weapon and beats up the fox boss. The fox boss tries to use Saoji's mannequin to make her stop, but Eika is brutal and destroys it without any hesitation. After defeating the fox boss, she takes out his crystallized gem and puts it inside her twin gear to receive an even greater power boost. The power allows her to fly, so she grabs Saoji and carries him in his arms as if he's a princess and flies away. Later, they are all at home, when the news channels go crazy as they cover the topic of a new twin tail who goes by the name of Blue Tail. They call her a villain who is helping Tail Red only to betray her later. This makes Eika feel very desperate as she is close to crying. She grabs Turul and asks her why this is happening, and the poor Turul doesn't even know why she was brought up in this fight in the first place. The following day, Saoji and Eika are on their way to school when Eika starts to complain about his popularity, while other people seem to hate her and call her a villainess who would betray the hero for some spare change later in the series. While they are chit-chatting, they arrive at the school and find that all the girls are in twin tails. This excites Saoji, who can't believe his eyes. Eika is also wondering as to what caused this when the school president, Irina, comes up to them and tells them about how the red tail changed her life, and how the blue tail who has just come into the scene restored their belief in the twin tails. Eika is happy to hear praises about her for the first time. She happily starts to discuss it with Irina when she stops her as she looks closer at Saoji and almost mistakes him for Red Tail. However, she quickly lets it go as to how can a man become a woman. If this was Twitter, Irina would be cancelled for being a transphobe, but she is spared due to being a fictional character. Saoji heaved a sigh of relief as he thought that he might have gotten exposed. Irina excuses herself and is about to leave when she reminds him that his application for the Twin Tails Club was approved and that he can create it now. Saoji is very hyped as he can't believe that his dream would finally come true. Meanwhile, in the grand base of the Eleminions, the leader summons the remaining bosses and asks them about the situation of the war on the planet Earth. They inform him about all the details, such as how they have lost thousands of Eleminions and even a few bosses to the Twin Tail fighters, the Red Tail, and the Blue Tail. The leader stays silent for a moment before ordering them to call back all the Eleminions, as fighting like this would only cause more of their people to die and it may become a war of attrition which they cannot bear. Instead, he asks if any one of the bosses wants to go to Earth and take out the Twin Tails duo. The Swan boss stands up and requests the leader to allow him to go and fight those two. The leader agrees to his request, but before that, he wants to test him if he's worthy enough to go and fight the duo. The test is a harem autumn game in which the main character has to choose specific dialogues to unlock different endings with each girl. The Swan boss attempts the fight, but unfortunately, his resolve is too weak and he doesn't end up winning all of them, which causes the leader to be disappointed in him, so he chooses to do it himself in the end. He asks them to gather all the remaining minions they have and leads them to end this war once and for all. On the other hand, Eika is showering when she checks out her chest and wonders if it has grown a little bit, but instead, what she finds is just some muscles. She is so flat that even some guys have bigger bodies than her. She is disappointed and continues to shower, so at least she doesn't smell bad when suddenly her twin gear rings as Turul informs her about an Eleminian invasion. Eka asks her to wait for a while so at least she can complete her shower, so Saoji has to go out alone and handle the situation himself. Saoji arrives at the location and finds nothing. Just when he drops his guard, he is attacked by the leader with his big sword. Fortunately, Saoji is quick enough and blocks his attack with his tiny sword, and hence begins the sword fight between two grown-up men with twin tails fetish. The leader praises Saoji's quick wits and decides to fight him fairly. He introduces himself to be the leader of the Holy Army, the one and only Dragon Boss himself. Saoji is surprised and asks him Dragon what? So Dragon Boss tells him to drag these balls across his face. Saoji gets furious and starts to crazily attack him, but Dragon Boss is too strong and easily handles him. Eka also arrives on the scene to help as she asks the Dragon Boss about their purpose of attacking the planet which loves twin tails so much when he deeply loves them. The Dragon Boss explains that it's a matter between the food chain, so there is no morality in this. Instead, he tells them that he once fought a woman in blue tail gear as well, but unlike Eka, who is flatter than the brain of people who believe in the flat earth, that woman had big melons which very firm and heavy. Eka is shocked and questions him where, so he answers that he fought her on one of the previous worlds. That woman was the heroine of her world, but sadly she was the reason that planet was brought to its destruction. Her identity created love for twin tails and people, which made it the target of Eleminians who deeply desire for such craving. Eka can't believe that they are fighting for nothing, as until the twin tails remain on this planet, this war will continue. However, Saoji asks her to get out of her delusion and focus on reality. He tells Eka that he doesn't want to live in a world where twin tails are no more. Instead of laughing at him, the Dragon Boss praises his genuine love for twin tails and considers him an equal. Just when they are about to continue their fight, Turul appears while wearing a mask. She introduces herself as a masked twin tail, however, there is no special power coming out from her. The Dragon Boss recognizes her to be the woman that he once fought and asks where her massive energy disappears. She tells him that she relinquished her power. She gives an emotional speech about her love for twin tails and how she doesn't want this world to lose its love too. This inspires Saoji, who becomes hyped up and prepares to engage the Dragon Boss in the fight. The Dragon Boss is also excited as he orders all 800 of his minions to attack them. Saoji requests Eka to handle them while he engages alone with the Dragon Boss. The fight goes on as they continue to fight. While Eka takes out all the small minions, she becomes exhausted and falls, leaving behind everything to Saoji. Saoji is also getting his ass beaten up, but then he uses his quick wits to defeat the Dragon Boss and win the battle. However, he is also very exhausted, so he falls as well. One day, Saoji is playing with his fluffy twin tails in his tail red form when he is caught red-handed by Eka. So to defend himself, he makes an excuse that he was writing stuff for the Twin Tail Club, so that's why he had to transform. Eka doesn't buy his excuse and is already angry enough, but Turul makes it even more worse when she teases her that the only quality that Saoji liked isn't even worth it in his eyes anymore, as he hasn't played with her twin tails in days. To release her anger, she just punches Turul, which launches her outside the house. Later, Eka has just finished defeating the turtle Eleminian, who was in love with cute girls wearing swimsuits. After defeating him and taking his crystallized gem, she transforms back into her original form and heads back to school with Saoji. At school, a woman walks in with a maid costume as she introduces herself to their new teacher, Mikoto. She then proceeds to introduce a new transfer student who turns out to be none other than our beloved white-haired waifu Turul. She introduces herself to Saoji's relatives and sits with them in the class. Later, the group heads to their club room, which is finally allowed by the school council. They want to head inside, but Turul suddenly pops up and warns them to not peek inside till she's done adjusting the setup. While Saoji and Eka are waiting inside, Irina, alongside the new teacher, walks up to them and asks if they can see the club room. However, Eka and Saoji stop them as Turul is still setting things up. Till then, they try to avert their attention by chatting with her about the teacher next to her in a maid cosplay. Irina informs them that it's her head maid who joined the school as a teacher to become an advisor for the Tails Club. Saoji and Eka are amazed and thank her for doing so as it helped them. At that moment, Turul also invites them inside as she is done with setting things up. Inside the club room, they sit together where Irina suddenly starts to ask Saoji questions about twin tails. Saoji is confused at first, but then realizes that this might be a test from her, so he starts to talk about how much he loves twin tails and how it's his only motivation for living in this world. Irina is baffled by his answers and doesn't know how to answer. Before she can say anything, her eyes fall on Saoji's bracelet as she presses on it. Saoji is shocked and immediately covers it when Irina advises him to not wear accessories in school even if it's a replica of Tail Red's bracelet, as it's against the rules. After saying this, she leaves the club room alongside the teacher. After she leaves, Saoji heaves a sigh of relief as he furiously asks Turul how could Irina see the bracelet when she assures him that outside of transformation no one would be able to see it. Turul informs him that normally she shouldn't be able to see it, but after being attacked by the Eleminians and being an ultimate twin tail herself, maybe she has the power to see it. Meanwhile, in the head base of the Eleminians, the Sparrow boss is getting worried because he believes that they will soon lose if they do not receive any reinforcements. He also dreads the Twin Tails duo as they have been nothing but a headache for their army. However, just when he is getting hopeless, his subordinate comes up to him and informs him that the two big bosses are here, the Kraken boss and the Leviathan boss. The Sparrow boss is exhilarated, as with these two giants defeating the Twin Tails duo would be an easy task, unlike doing your mom cause she is too fat. Outside the control room, two groups are fighting each other as they throw slogans at each other. One side supports Big Bodonkas while the other guys are fans of the flat. Unfortunately, no medium is premium, or else it will be a fine battle. The Sparrow boss tries to mediate the fight as he asks the Kraken boss and Leviathan boss to use their energy against the Twin Tails duo who has been harassing them lately. However, the big bosses ask him to relax as they have already sent their strongest soldiers to defeat those two pesky brats. Back on Earth, Irina and Makoto are going back home after shopping when they are attacked by the Buffalo boss. The Buffalo boss loves Big Bodonkas, so he asks Makoto to come with him, but instead of receiving milk, he receives kicks from Eika and Saoji, who arrive on the scene for their rescue. Seeing his nemesis approach him, the Buffalo boss introduces himself and explains his love for big jugs. However, this irritates Eika, who is nowhere to be considered as having big jugs, so she gets angry and starts to beat him up using her ultimate attacks. The Buffalo boss can't believe that he was defeated by a flat chest and dies a death of regret. Eika grabs his crystallized gem and takes it to Turul for examination. Turul tests the gem and finds that with this she can create an add-on in her third twin gear that she has been recently working on. The add-on would allow the user to grow Big Bodonkas, as it comes from a Big Bodonkas loving attribute. Hearing this, Eika starts to fantasize about having big jugs, so she begs Turul to give them to her. Turul can't believe that a proud person like this violent gorilla would ever beg her for something, so she agrees to do it, and as a woman she can understand the love for big jugs better than any other person. Later, she finally completed the third gear, and she gave it to Eika. Eika is excited and immediately wants to transform, but unfortunately, when she tries to do it, she fails. She keeps on trying but isn't able to transform and asks Turul if it's defective. Turul assures her that her product is fine and that the user is just too crappy to use it. However, Saoji has a better answer, as he thinks that her body is used to her previous gear and that's why it's having a hard time adjusting to the new one. After hearing his explanation, she lets it go and goes back to her blue tail gear. The following day, Irina is once again out shopping when she gets attacked by Eleminians. This time it's the crab boss who loves the backs of the necks. He loves the back of the necks so much that he has learned how to teleport behind people to see their necks from behind. He is gazing at the beautiful neck of Irina when Saoji and Eika arrive to rescue them. But this time even they aren't able to defeat him, as he's too fast for them to attack. While Eika is struggling against him, Saoji takes Irina to a safe location where she thanks him and informs him that she knows his real identity. At first, Saoji acts confused, but when confronted he reverts to his real form and calls out Turul to explain what's going on. Instead of saying anything, she gives Irina the yellow twin gear and asks her to become the heroine that she always wanted to become. Irina equips the gear and transforms into a grown-up woman with big bodonkas and immediately heads to defeat the crab boss who has been teasing Eika for a while. Eika comes up to her and is surprised to see her form, especially those big and juicy melons. She feels jealous, especially when she looks at Saoji's heated gaze. However, Irina is ecstatic to be finally able to join her dream team of heroes that she always wanted to become a part of. Meanwhile, far away from them, in the head base, the ever-so-mysterious Dark Grasper finally arrives in front of everyone and shocks everyone as he is a human. Back to the fight. Irina is up against the crab boss, but when she tries to use her Twin Tails gear, unexpectedly she isn't able to utilize it properly and fails to do any damage to the crab boss. So to save her ass, Saoji and Eika act and defeat him. After defeating him, they talk to Irina, who seems to have been struck badly by this accident. She also feels very embarrassed, as earlier she was hyping herself to be a great hero and now she wasn't even able to use her powers. Later at the school, she gives up her gear and returns it to Saoji. However, Saoji doesn't know why she would give up on her gear when she loves Twin Tails too. However, she still tries to explain to him, but when Saoji continues to persist, she ends up giving and asks everyone to leave so she can leave and talk to Saoji alone. After Turul and others leave, she opens up to Saoji about her feelings for twin tails. She informs him that she never loved twin tails and never wanted to have them. She only wore them because of her mother, who told her that it was her family tradition. Throughout her childhood, everyone bullied her for having twin tails, and even when she grew up, that didn't stop and people called her childish. So in the end, she ended up despising them and they became something that she hated. Saoji tries to explain to her that hating them won't solve anything and that he knows that in her heart she loves them. He also assures her that her mother did it for her and that she loved her. He holds her shoulder and continues to lecture her with his face close to her, which makes her embarrassed, so she kindly asks him to back away. Saoji realizes his mistake and backs away, but stops when he notices her twin tails growing. He holds them in his hand and asks if she can see them, but unfortunately, she isn't a schizophrenic like him, so she answers that she didn't see anything. He tells her that it's the feelings for twin tails inside her that make her hair glow up. He makes her delusional that she can do it and that she loves twin tails. In the end, Irina is persuaded by him and agrees to accept the twin tail gear and decides to fight for justice and to protect the twin tails. Eka and others come back and congratulate her for regaining her love for twin tails. But the real problem still stands, and that is that unlike Eka and Saoji, who have been well trained since childhood, Irina has always been the frail princess throughout her life. So that's why Saoji decided to let her undergo a special training session to learn more about her abilities and how to properly utilize them. But just when they are about to head out to train, their twin gears alert them of a warning that two potential bosses are having a meeting at a random location. Eka asks them to go and do special training and assures them that she will take the bosses on her own and it isn't a big deal. After they all head to their spots, Saoji asks Irina to transform, so she does that and transforms into her big busted form. Afterward, Turul orders Saoji to grab a big boulder and throw it at Irina. Irina is shocked and tells them that she won't be able to do it, but Turul gives her a motivational speech to hype her up as Saoji grabs a giant boulder and throws it at Irina. Instead of becoming a meat paste, Irina blasts through the giant boulder as if it's paper, which seriously shocks Saoji and even Turul, who created it. Irina, who has just used her powers for the first time, becomes extremely ecstatic that she goes into her bitch mode, which allows her to perform her abilities at 100%. But the downside is that she has to drop off her heavy armor to show off her giant. Meanwhile, Eka arrives at the hideout of the two bosses, who are none other than the Kraken boss and Leviathan boss. They are surprised to see Eka here, especially Leviathan, who is a fan of flat-chested women. But Kraken, on the other hand, hates flat chests and disrespects Eka, which makes her very enraged. But before she can do anything, he grabs her with his tentacles and makes sure she isn't able to move. Eka calls out for her help, so Saoji and the others receive her signals and immediately come to rescue her. But just when they arrive, it turns out Eka has already brutally beaten one till it gave up. The reason for her rage was that Kraken continued to target her flat chest, which is her only insecurity. So she got so angry that she went into her berserk mode and berserked all over Kraken. However, after that, she is completely out of energy, so she ends up falling unconscious. Irina decides to take care of Leviathan next, as she wants to test her newly learned abilities. She goes into her bitch mode as Saoji praises her and asks her to expose herself to him. She goes completely wild and destroys Leviathan, who can't believe that he was defeated by a woman with big juicy melons. Just when they think that everything is over, their real nemesis arrives in front of them, the Dark Grasper. The Dark Grasper mistakes Saoji to be Turul, as this gear belonged to her in the past. She introduces herself and tells them about her power, which looks very familiar to their Twin Tails gear. The Dark Grasper informs them that this is her Twin Glasses gear, which combines the specialities of both glasses and twin tails. She then asks Saoji, whom she mistaken to be Turul, if she remembers her, but Saoji doesn't know how to answer, so Turul asks him to copy her and just say what she is saying. Saoji repeats her words as he talks to the Dark Grasper. He tells her that she is Asina and that he remembers her. He asks her how she is doing. The Dark Grasper is extremely excited as she can't believe her favorite person remembers her. She tells her that she misses her very much and wonders what happened to her, especially to her giant melons, which were magnificent back in the day. Saoji tells her that he lost them in the battle with the Ultimate Lord and they disintegrated into another dimension. The Dark Grasper is grief-stricken after hearing this, as she can't believe such magnificent globs of fat disappeared just like that. However, she assures her that she will do her best to restore her to her original glory, as now she is under the Ultimate Lord and has even become his right hand. She also invites her to join them, but Saoji rejects her and informs her that they will never join the Ultimate Lord. The Dark Grasper is disappointed, but she informs them that she will be back again, but next time she will be an enemy. but before she can go, she asks Saoji to give his number, but Saoji makes the excuse that he doesn't have a phone this world, which disappoints the Dark Grasper, so she just leaves. After she leaves, everyone gets up and signs as things have become even more complicated. Meanwhile, in the head base, the Dark Grasper summons her minions and gives them some orders on her behalf. In the control room, the Sparrow boss is talking to other Ella minions about the dire situation. Even their 2 strong bosses died under the hands of the 3 twin tails. If 2 weren't enough, now there is a third one as well. They study their moves to learn more about their skills. The Yellow Tail's ability is very simple. She is like darkness from Konosuba. The more blow to her reputation she suffers, the stronger she gets. She is a masochist who enjoys shame. While they are discussing, the Dark Grasper arrives in front of them and asks them to come with her, as she wants everyone in the boss to listen to her commands from now on. One of the Eleminion bosses is getting too haughty and decides to challenge her, but he gets obliterated by her deadly sigh. Seeing her abilities truly put fear in everyone's mind as they realize not to mess with her. After dealing with everyone, she asks for their friend code, but everyone is too afraid, so they make random excuses. She scoffs at them and leaves as she heads back to her room. There she returns to normal clothes and acts like an emo bitch who whines all day about having no friends. Her summons asks her to act normal, so she might be able to make friends, or else she will be friendless throughout her whole life. On the other hand, our heroes are having an emergency meeting due to their encounter with the Dark Grasper. They can't believe that they have to fight another human now, which leaves them with a bad aftertaste in their mouths. However, Irina, who is very hyped from the last fight, assures them that Dark Grasper might be a human, but she has completely fallen against humanity, so as humanity's protector, they must fight against her. After hyping up all of them, she puts their hands on her own as they cheer up. However, later at school, she is helpless when she finds Eika fighting with Turul once again, and Saoji, who is struggling to let go of Turul, who has her face on his crotch. After struggling, Eika finally manages to separate Turul from Saoji, who wipes off her face as she explains that she was just helping him fix his zipper. However, Eika asks her how the frick fixes the pants zipper using their mouth, so Turul points at herself and tells her that she does. Before Eika can say anything about her shamelessness, their bracelets ring as they are alerted of Eleminions nearby. Saoji and the others teleport one by one, leaving behind Mikoto, who doesn't have any special ability. The group arrives at an island, where they are confronted by a butterfly boss who introduces himself to be a minion under the Dark Grasper. His attribute is lips, as he wants to steal their first kisses from them. However, everyone is disgusted and stands farther away from him. But he has long-range attacks, so they have no choice but to step aside and let Irina take care of those who have long-range attacks. Irina gets lost in her obscene fantasies, as she loses all control and goes full havoc on poor Butterfly's boss. After slaying him, she also falls, so the group picks her up and takes her to the base. Meanwhile, the Dark Grasper has another secret identity of an idol under the name Anko. She performs very well, which leads to the director calling her magnificent as he praises her singing. After the practice, she returns to the makeup room, where she stares at the crystallized gem from the Cerberus boss. The Cerberus boss was once her producer, but he wanted her to change her hairstyle into braids, but Anko wanted to keep her twin-tailed hairstyle with her iconic glasses. But this made him upset, so they fought to decide the victor. The winner was Anko, and Cerberus became a vanquished foe. Back at the base, the group is taking care of Irina, who lies down unconscious. After a short while, she wakes up and finds Eika once again fighting with Turul, so she becomes jealous of their close relationship and asks Eika to hit her too. But Eika can't just randomly hit her, so she has no choice but to ask Saoji to hit her in the face. Saoji doesn't want to get cancelled, so he just puts his hand on her face, but being the masochist she isn't satisfied and wants him to do it harder. This makes them realize that she doesn't know anything about the world, so Turul decides to let her learn, as she asks Irina to buy the best Ekai magazine for Saoji, as this is what makes boys happy. However, as Irina knows nothing about such things herself, she asks everyone in the school to give their opinions. One by one, she asks almost everyone, and during that time she becomes completely embarrassed after learning that there are so many fetishes out there in the world. Meanwhile, her mother discovers her activities to be rather unrefined as well, so she decides to set up an arranged marriage for her, so she may fall back to her refined path. Later, somewhere in the world, the owl boss is reading literature that seems to be written by a 14-year-old on Wattpad, but in his eyes, it's better than every piece of literature in the world. He closes the book, and it turns out to be indeed a piece of fiction written by a 14-year-old Dark Grasper who was madly in love with Turul. The following day, Saoji and others are heading to school when Irina arrives and greets them with swollen eyes and tired faces. She tells them that she spent the whole night searching for the best Ekai magazines online, but sadly her home server had restrictions, so she wasn't able to find anything. Eika informs her that she should have asked her for help, but Irina tells her that she wants to do this all by herself. Later, Makoto meets up with Saoji alone and tells him to follow Irina to the bookstore where she will head to buy the Ekai magazine. Saoji asks her why she can't just go with her, so she reminds him that she won't let anyone interfere with this, so she has no option but to ask for his help. Saoji agrees to help her, but she wants him to sign a contract which turns out to be a marriage form. He looks at her face and finds nothing. After school, Irina heads out to buy the Ekai magazine as Saoji follows her sneakily so she won't discover him. He continues to follow her until she eventually heads inside the bookstore. Coincidentally, the owl boss also seems to be standing outside as he tries to sell his piece of literature to people. However, no one buys his stuff, so he takes out his mask, which makes him reveal his identity to Saoji, who immediately transforms into his red tail form to fight him. The owl boss is shocked and can't believe that someone found him this early. But he still isn't afraid of fighting as he spits out 2 sticky liquids that bind Saoji's arm to the wall so that he won't be able to move. He preaches to him about how novels are far better than mangas and let people immerse into the world of words. However, the manga has completely ruined the world of literature. Saoji doesn't have enough time to hear his bullshit, so he breaks free and beats his ass. He tells him that he doesn't care about novels or mangas. The only things he likes are Twin Tales and nothing else. His love for Twin Tales even surprises the hardcore literature fan owl boss, who gives up on his life after being defeated. Saoji is about to head back to the store when Irina exits the store and notices him. Saoji acts as if it's just a coincidence and is about to leave when she asks him to stop and tells him that she wasn't able to buy the Ekai magazine as only 18+ people can buy it. He asks her to not get worried as they head back to the classroom and get consoled by everyone. Turo even gives them special phones made for the Twin Gear heroes. Later at night, Irina is at her home when she gets summoned by her mother, who lectures her. After hearing what she has to say, Irina leaves and sits in her room alone. The next day, she comes to school without her Twin Tails for the first time, which causes Saoji to mistake this for her getting attacked by Eleminions and getting her power stolen from her. But Makoto asks him to not think too deeply, as it's just her way of fighting against her mother. Saoji and the others try to talk to her about it, but Irina doesn't say anything and leaves. Later, she heads to the school board of directors room where her mother's office is located. She is talking to her about the arranged marriage that her mother planned for her when Saoji barges into the room and talks to Irina's mother about Irina's Twin Tails. He informs her that Irina's Twin Tails are like morning sunshine to him, and without them, his day wouldn't be the same anymore. He praises her to the end of the earth and expresses his love for Twin Tails. Irina's mother, who is also a hardcore Twin Tails enthusiast, is taken aback by his love and decides to give her daughter's hand to him. Irina doesn't mind either, as it's Saoji, but the girls outside are having a breakdown, especially Turo, who wanted to steal his virginity for herself. Meanwhile, Anko is in her room depressed by her monthly viewers gain, which is less than usual. To cheer her up, she summons and pulls out the Turo photo album. However, after seeing the pictures, Anko realizes that Turul doesn't have her signature Twin Tails and realizes that the red tail at that time wasn't Turul but someone else. This infuriates her as she can't believe someone has her. Meanwhile, Saoji is passing by a banner of Anko's concert when he also realizes that the Dark Grasper is an idol named Anko. Saoji calls everyone for an emergency meeting and informs them that the Dark Grasper's true identity is the Glasses idol, Anko. They can't believe that such a thing was happening under their nose. They research about Anko, and in one of her songs, they find hidden meanings where Anko confessed her love for Turul. And even on her latest concert banner, she has set up a bait for them. They ponder whether to go or not, but after having some discussion, they end up deciding to go after all. On the day of the concert, the trio teleports to the concert hall, where everyone is standing as if they have been manipulated by something. All 3 of them are creeped out as they look at the audience dancing on the finger of Anko. Anko's eyes fall on them as well as she signals to start the show. Just at that moment, Anko appears behind them, which shocks them. They ask her if she's the real one and then who's the one on stage. Anko points towards the upper portion of the hall, where her mecha summons seems to be projecting the idol Anko through a hologram projector. The group praises her brain for thinking like this, but they can't believe that the audience is too stupid to recognize this and wonder if the glasses have truly blinded them. Their words offend Anko, who loves glasses, as she calls Saoji the biggest liar and a despicable person for stealing her Turul from her. Saoji doesn't understand her as to what she is talking about. Anko realizes that she can't control her anger anymore, so she teleports them outside and takes her stance against them. Her first against Saoji is heavy as he slams back into the wall and ends up destroying it. Seeing this, Irina and Eka get serious as they stand in front of Saoji to protect him. However, even their combined efforts aren't much against Anko, as she is easily able to take on them without much effort. Saoji also tries to get back, but she grabs all three of them with her lighting tentacles and tries to make them suffer. After tasering them for a while, she pulls out glasses from nowhere and informs them that these are permanent glasses that reduce vision and cause near blindness. Saoji tells her to not do it as it would be an eternal hell, but Anko is too evil for his understanding and comes even closer, and just when she is about to put them on, Turul arrives and asks her to stop. She requests Anko to leave everything behind and pulls her into a hug. She asks her to turn off her armor as well, and Anko obliges without any questions. Too Early tries to explain to her to quit everything and come back with them, but Anko tells her that if she does, her glasses attribute would go away. And if they hold on to their twin tails dearly, she also holds her glasses dearly. She also speaks about the only reason she joined the Ultimate Lord was to get permission from him to keep the glasses attribute, so even after destroying many worlds, the Ultimate Lord didn't touch the glasses attribute. She separates herself from Turul and transforms back into her twin glasses gear form. She then continues the fight with Saoji and the others, but instead of holding back, she directly uses her super attack and sends them to a dream realm to suffer for eternity. Turul asks her to bring them back, but Anko answers, "Nah." In the dream world, Saoji opens his eyes and finds Anko completely naked on his bed. It's not only her, but all the twin tail girls are naked in front of him, but he realizes that he is missing someone. And that turns out to be Turul, who whispers into his ear that she will show him her twin tails, as well as she tries to bind her hair into twin tail, but the reality breaks as Turul has given up her twin tails to atone for her sin. The enraged Saoji wakes up and confronts Anko with his flaming wrath, but before that, he consumes the Cerberus boss crystallized gem that he found earlier in the arena and uses the braid attribute to combine his power with Arena and Aka to form a multi-cannon system to shoot Anko down with one shot. Anko's armor is reduced to nothing but atoms as Turul asks her to finally admit defeat, but Anko informs that she'd win as she calls her Mecha Summon. But instead of fighting against them, the Mecha Summon asks them to become friends with her. Anko gets embarrassed as she comes close to Saoji, kisses him on the lips and places a QR code on his face. The girls are shocked and can't believe that his first kiss was taken away by a random girl. Anko asks her Mecha Summon to take her away, but before that, she informs Turul that she doesn't love her anymore and that her new love is Saoji. In the main base, Anko heads to the dojo of the spider boss, who wishes to fight with the three twin tails. Anko allows him and also asks if he has any experience with kissing. The spider boss informs her that he doesn't, so she flexes on him by saying that she kissed Red Tail Aka Saoji. Back to the Earth, Saoji and Aka are heading to school when she talks to him about kissing Anko. Arena, who is walking behind them, is also very curious, so Saoji assures them that it was nothing as he was in his twin tails form and kisses between girls are common, and asks her to just consider it as a greeting. While they are chit-chatting, they head to the club room where Turul informs them of an attack of Eleminions in a nearby all-girls school. The trio immediately transforms and teleports to the location where they find the spider boss standing in front of two girls, one who confesses that he is a boy and lied about being a girl. However, the other girl doesn't mind and tells him that she loves femboys anyway. The trio is shocked as they watch him, but they realize that this spider boss attribute is femboys, so they immediately descend to save them. They ask both of them to quickly leave as they confront the spider boss, who introduces himself and explains his love for femboys who cross-dress. Aka warns Saoji to be careful as he can be considered a femboy as well with his red tail form. Saoji gets shocked and never realizes this point and decides to be cautious. The spider boss showcases his skilled sword fighting capabilities that he learned after dueling with so many femboys in sword battles. Saoji isn't able to put up any fight and ends up getting destroyed by him. Aka and Arena try to attack the spider boss, but he escapes after defeating Saoji only. They both pull Saoji out of the rubble to check on him and find him healthy without any major injury. The following day, Aka comes to Saoji's home to pick him up, but he's sleeping, so she heads upstairs to wake him up. But instead, she finds him sleeping in his red tail form and asks him why. Saoji doesn't remember either, so she just leaves it and asks him to get ready for school. On their way to school, they bump into Turul and Arena, who are alongside Mikoto. They ask Saoji if he's fine, and he assures them that he is completely fine. Just then a dog passes by them, which causes something to awaken inside Arena as she puts a collar on her neck and asks Saoji to take her on a walk. However, before Saoji can do anything, Turul grabs the belt and commands Arena as if she's a dog. Even though she is embarrassed, she keeps on following her commands, which amuses Turul, who becomes narcissistic very quickly. Meanwhile, Saoji walks forward to walk beside Aka, but instead of normally looking at her twin tails, he focuses on her juicy lips. Aka gets embarrassed, but is happy that he finally noticed something else aside from her twin tails. She wonders if something bloomed inside his heart after kissing Anko the last time. Later, in the class, Saoji dreams about Anko, who tries to kiss him, but he stops himself and chases after his red tail form. The dream ends and he wakes up as he heads back home with Aka. The following day, Aka once again heads to Saoji's home to pick him up, but his mom tells her that she is still sleeping and instead asks her to go and wake him up. Aka heads upstairs to wake him, but this time she finds that instead of being in his red tail form, he has completely turned into a girl. Saoji can't believe it and immediately moves in to check in the mirror when he is shocked to find that he has turned into a woman. Just like every other man, his first instinct was to touch his pom-poms, so he does that and it feels real. Aka calls everyone for another emergency meeting as she explains to everyone what happened. Instead of being worried, Saoji's mom is excited and reminds Saoji that if his father had been here, he would have felt very proud. Saoji feels like crying as he doesn't understand what's happening to him. On the other hand, he is getting the urge to pee, but he is too afraid to go to the toilet. Turul and Irina volunteer to go and help him, but Saoji declines and continues to hold on. Aka smacks him in the head, takes him to the toilet and teaches him to do it in a womanly manner. After this is done, they now have to handle the matter of the school as well. Irina suggests they enroll Saoji as a temporary student till he eventually recovers his male form. Saoji has no other option aside from doing this, so he does the thing, which is to dress up in a schoolgirl uniform and head to the school like a girl. There everyone is shocked and wonders where such a pretty girl like him came from. Poor Saoji would cry if he could hear their internal monologue. Meanwhile, in the main base, the spider boss undergoes a retreat into the deep training waters. He leaves everything behind in the hands of his trusted subordinates. Later, in the club room, they receive a notification for an Eleminian attack, so the trio heads out to defeat them. After arriving at the location, they are confronted by the worm boss, who is trying his best to master the femboy attribute of his master spider boss. Aka is too creeped out by the worm, so Saoji decides to leave him alone as he asks Irina to stay aside. Irina stands aside like a loyal puppy as Saoji alone takes on the slimy and gross worm. However, unlike his usual fights, Saoji isn't able to properly utilize his strength and ends up getting beaten up by the worm. In the end, Aka has no choice but to overcome her phobia and save him. Saoji is disappointed in himself and chooses to lie down on the ground as he wants to stay alone. There he is visited by Anko, who tells him that she is disappointed in him for being so weak. Later, at night, Saoji is bathing alone, lost in his thoughts, when Aka comes in and helps him wash up properly. She even undo his twin tails for the first time, which makes him feel as if he has lost something important. After washing up, Aka helps him dry his hair and is about to tie his hair when Turul walks in and gives her the two accessories that she used in the past to tie her hair. Aka uses those accessories to tie his hair into twin tails. Saoji likes this hair, and this makes him realize that there was so much that he didn't know about twin tails his whole life. At night, Saoji is trying to sleep when he receives a call from Turul that there has been an Eleminian attack and that Irina and Aka are still sleeping. Saoji assures her that he will take care of the problem as he heads to the location and finds the snail boss there. Just like everyone expected, Saoji fails to do any significant damage and ends up getting his ass beaten up once again. Fortunately, Irina and Aka come to his rescue and save him by defeating the snail boss, but before he dies, he informs them that the spider boss will return with even stronger power. In the training waters, the spider boss walks out and flexes his body as he sheds his old skeleton to reveal a new and better form inside. He then grabs his trusted sword and slashes it to test his might. Meanwhile, Saoji is sitting in his room all depressed. After thinking for a while, he finally gets some motivation as he heads to the bathroom to bathe and comb his hair. But he is not used to such long hair, so he messes up and ruins them. In the end, Aka has to help him in properly doing it. Later, he tries to tie his hair into twin tails but ends up ruining it again. This time all the girls teach him about their twin tails so Saoji can learn about multiple styles and choose what feels best to him. After trying out all of them, he wonders what his twin tail styles are, so he heads to the bathroom to design his twin tails. On the other hand, the spider boss arrives in the control room where he finds Anko sitting alone on the chair as no one is left aside from them. Anko asks him to defeat Red Tail with full might. This surprises the spider boss a lot as he thinks that she loves her as she was her first kiss. But Anko assures him that he can just have full strength as she doesn't need a weak bride. After receiving the orders, the spider boss heads to the earth and stands on the tallest building in Tokyo as he vows to the heavens that he will turn everyone into girly femboys with twin tails. He summons wind and lightning, which transforms into a hurricane, and anyone affected by it loses his masculinity and becomes a twink girly femboy. Turul is in the base when she receives the news and is shocked that an even stronger spider boss has attacked them, and this time he is severely affecting the world also. Irina and Aka request to go and fight him as Saoji is still busy finding his ultimate twin tails style. Irina and Aka arrive at the building and confront the spider boss, who informs them that he isn't the same anymore. He informs them of his new form and name, which is Arachne, so he asks them to call him Arachne Boss. After bullshitting for a while, he gets serious and starts to fight them. His speed is too fast for Irina and Aka to react, so they are beaten up by him while not being able to do anything. However, they know that they can't give up, so they stand once again and combine their powers to fight him, but unfortunately, it still isn't worth it as Arachne's boss splits into two clones to attack them individually. While Irina and Aka are getting their ass beaten up by Arachne's boss, our protagonist is combing his hair and trying different hairstyles. In the end, he settles on his usual twin tails during his red tail form and decides to go with it. He then immediately receives an alert from Turul, so he heads to the base and learns of the situation. Without thinking much, he transforms and jumps into the teleporter to teleport to the location. After arriving at the location, he immediately confronts Arachne's boss, but he is disappointed in Saoji after he notices that his aura is still chaotic and full of doubts. He even claims that he can shatter his armor in one strike, which makes Saoji angry as he jumps in to attack him, but unfortunately, he is too weak and isn't able to do much. The Arachne boss decides that it's time for him to end this, so he attacks Saoji, which ends up destroying his sword. Saoji thinks this is the end for him as he is close to giving up, but then suddenly he gets pulled into a dream where he meets with his twin tails. The twin tails remind him of his doubts and clear them for him. They explain to him that those doubts are nothing but illusions. They also explain that is mistaking his love for twin tails with love for females. It assures him that these are different things and that he doesn't need to get confused between them and just choose one. In the end, it reminds him that it will always be with him as they shake hands to close the deal. After waking up from this strange dream, Saoji feels extremely powerful as he easily pushes back Arachne's boss without much effort. Seeing his efforts, the Arachne boss becomes serious as well and starts to use his full power. He summons 8 of his clones and unleashes them on Saoji, but he is easily able to counterattack it by killing all of them at the same time. Using the smoke created by the clones, Arachne attacks Saoji to sneak attack him, but Saoji has already predicted his move as he counters him perfectly. They keep on exchanging moves and get used to each other's power levels. However, they both realize that they have to end this battle in the last final exchange, so they both transform into their ultimate forms. The twin tail accessories given to him by Turul become an upgrade boost for him, which he uses to upgrade his current gear. He calls it a rising chain and becomes extremely powerful for a short period. Saoji even pulls out his dual swords, which will give him the upper hand over Arachne, who has only one sword. On the other hand, Arachne also concentrates all of his power on his sword attacks as the sword battle begins between a femboy lover and the femboy himself. However, after Turul realizes that it's getting too lengthy, she informs Saoji that he needs to hurry up as the transformation is too unstable and will end in 20 seconds. Saoji assures her that's enough for him as he gets even crazier with his attacks and barrages Arachne's boss with enough attacks till he isn't able to hold in anymore and explodes, leaving a beautiful explosion that reverts all the femboys to a masculine man. Saoji also returns to normal as he falls into Turul's bosoms out of exhaustion. She holds him dearly and caresses his head. On the other side, Anko is happy that her bride did so well also and wishes him farewell as she leaves with the Aluminium base to go back and run an errand for the Ultimate Lord. After everything is back to normal and the threat of Aluminiums isn't anymore, the group wonders if their lives will go back to normal, but Turul assures them that even if they do not have the enemies who are stopping them from loving twin tails and enjoying their lives. That's all for today. If you enjoyed our video, give us a like and subscribe to our channel for more amazing content.